14. 1. We look at it, and we do not see it, and we name it the equable. We listen to it, and we do not hear it, and we name it the inaudible. We try to grasp it, and do not get hold of it, and we name it the subtle. With these three qualities, it cannot be made the subject of description. And hence we blend them together and obtain the one. 2. Its upper part is not bright, and its lower part is not obscure. Ceaseless in its action, it yet cannot be named, and then it again returns and becomes nothing. This is called the form of the formless, and the semblance of the invisible, this is called the fleeting and indeterminable. 3. We meet it and do not see its front, we follow it, and do not see its back. When we can lay hold of the Tao of old to direct the things of the present day, and are able to know it as it was of old in the beginning, this is called unwinding the clue of Tao. 15. 1. The skillful masters of the Tao, in old times, with a subtle and exquisite penetration, comprehended its mysteries, and were deep, also, so as to elude men's knowledge. As they were thus beyond men's knowledge, I will make an effort to describe of what sort they appeared to be. 2. Shrinking looked they like those who wade through a stream in winter, irresolute like those who are afraid of all around them, grave like a guest, in awe of his host, evanescent like ice that is melting away, unpretentious like wood that has not been fashioned into anything, vacant like a valley, and dull like muddy water. 3. Who can make the muddy water clear? Let it be still, and it will gradually become clear. Who can secure the condition of rest? Let movement go on, and the condition of rest will gradually arise. 4. They who preserve this method of the Tao do not wish to be full of themselves. It is through their not being full of themselves that they can afford to seem worn and not appear new and complete. 16. 1. The state of vacancy should be brought to the utmost degree, and that of stillness guarded with unwearying vigor. All things alike go through their processes of activity, and, then, we see them return to their original state. When things, in the vegetable world, have displayed their luxuriant growth, we see each of them return to its root. This returning to their root is what we call the state of stillness. And that stillness may be called a reporting that they have fulfilled their appointed end. 2. The report of that fulfillment is the regular, unchanging rule. To know that unchanging rule is to be intelligent, not to know it leads to wild movements and evil issues. The knowledge of that unchanging rule produces a grand capacity and forbearance. And that capacity and forbearance lead to a community of feeling with all things. From this community of feeling comes a kingliness of character, and he who is king-like goes on to be heaven-like. In that likeness to heaven he possesses the Tao. Possessed of the Tao, he endures long, and to the end of his bodily life, is exempt from all danger of decay. 17. 1. In the highest antiquity, the people did not know that there were their rulers. In the next age they loved them and praised them. In the next they feared them, in the next they despised them. Thus it was that when faith in the Tao was deficient in the rulers, a want of faith in them ensued in the people. 2. How irresolute did those earliest rulers appear, showing, by their reticence, the importance which they set upon their words. Their work was done and their undertakings were successful, while the people all said, "We are as we are, of ourselves." 18. 1. When the great Tao, way or method, ceased to be observed, benevolence and righteousness came into vogue. Then, appeared wisdom and shrewdness, and there ensued great hypocrisy. 2. When harmony no longer prevailed throughout the six kinships, filial sons found their manifestation. When the states and clans fell into disorder, loyal ministers appeared. 19. 1. If we could renounce our sageness and discard our wisdom, it would be better for the people 100-fold. If we could renounce our benevolence and discard our righteousness, the people would again become filial and kindly. If we could renounce our artful contrivances and discard our scheming for gain, there would be no thieves nor robbers. 2. Those three methods of government, thought olden ways in elegance did fail, and made these names their want of worth to veil, but simple views, and courses plain and true would selfish ends and many lusts eschew. 20. 1. When we renounce learning we have no troubles. The ready, yes, and flattering, yea, small is the difference they display. But mark their issues, good and ill, what space the gulf between shall fill. What all men fear is indeed to be feared, but how wide and without end is the range of questions, asking to be discussed. 2. The multitude of men look satisfied and pleased, as if enjoying a full banquet, as if mounted on a tower in spring. I alone seem listless and still, my desires having as yet given no indication of their presence. I am like an infant which has not yet smiled. I look dejected and forlorn, as if I had no home to go to. The multitude of men all have enough and to spare. I alone seem to have lost everything. My mind is that of a stupid man, I am in a state of chaos. Ordinary men look bright and intelligent, while I alone seem to be benighted. They look full of discrimination, while I alone am dull and confused. I seem to be carried about as on the sea, drifting as if I had nowhere to rest. All men have their spheres of action, while I alone seem dull and incapable, like a rude borderer. Thus, I alone am different from other men, but I value the nursing mother, the Tao. 21. The grandest forms of active force. From Tao come, their only source. Who can of Tao the nature tell? Our sight it flies, our touch as well. Eluding sight, eluding touch. The forms of things all in it crouch. Eluding touch, eluding sight. There are their semblances, all right. Profound it is, dark and obscure. Things' essences all there endure. Those essences the truth enfold. Of what, when seen, shall then be told? Now it is so, 'twas so of old. Its name what passes not away, so, in their beautiful array. Things form and never know decay. How know I that it is so with all the beauties of existing things? By this, nature of the Tao. 22. 1. The partial becomes complete, the crooked, straight, the empty, full, the worn out, new. He whose desires are few gets them, he whose desires are many goes astray. 2. Therefore the sage holds in his embrace the one thing, of humility, and manifests it to all the world. He is free from self-display, and therefore he shines, from self-assertion, and therefore he is distinguished, from self-boasting, and therefore his merit is acknowledged, from self-complacency, and therefore he acquires superiority. It is because he is thus free from striving that therefore no one in the world is able to strive with him. 3. That saying of the ancients that the partial becomes complete was not vainly spoken: all real completion is comprehended under it. 23. 1. Abstaining from speech marks him who is obeying the spontaneity of his nature. A violent wind does not last for a whole morning, a sudden rain does not last for the whole day. To whom is it that these two things are owing? To heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make such spasmodic actings last long, how much less can man? 2. Therefore when one is making the Tao his business, those who are also pursuing it, agree with him in it. And those who are making the manifestation of its course their object agree with him in that, while even those who are failing in both these things agree with him where they fail. 3. Hence, those with whom he agrees as to the Tao have the happiness of attaining to it, those with whom he agrees as to its manifestation have the happiness of attaining to it, and those with whom he agrees in their failure have also the happiness of attaining to the Tao. But, When there is not faith sufficient, on his part, a want of faith, in him, ensues, on the part of the others.